Hey, I'm Scott Hall. I am a psychic medium, and I want to talk today about creativity and flow. So, I'm a creative myself, and I love creating. That's like my favorite thing. Um, but people who don't consider themselves creative are still creative. Everyone's creative. Everyone's got a creative part of them. Mathematicians come up with great ideas. Everyone comes up with great ideas. But I want to talk about like the whole flow of from getting an idea to bringing it to fruition, and what does that look like. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I came up with that there's some steps I want to talk about that have to do with creation. So the first step is to be in the receiving mode to get that idea. It's my belief that the idea doesn't come from us. I mean, we don't intellectually work something to make an idea just pop. It doesn't happen that way. It usually happens when the receiving mode is when we're kind of maybe daydreaming, or we're offline. We're offline a little bit. We're not actually working on a problem. It's just ideas. Though I have that can happen too. But usually it's just like something just drops in a daydream and meditation, or like for example, when I write music, I'm playing guitar, and I had a sponsor in 12 Steps, and I said, I don't have a conscious contact with God. I don't even know what that means. And he's like, well, what state are you in when you're playing guitar? And I thought about it, and I went, wow, yeah, it's meditative. It really is a meditative state. And that allows things to just drop in. So I'll be just like, we call it noodling around on the guitar, and something will hit right, and it just like rings a bell. And then lyrically, I'll have something that just pops in that goes with it, a melody and maybe an initial lyric, maybe a couple of words, and that's how it starts. And it came to me because I was in a receiving state. So it's really important to be in that receiving state. I want to talk about, when we're blocked about new ideas and things seem stagnant, that's because we're not in a receiving state. We're kind of like, I always think of everything as like a tube, and information comes in to that tube, and it pops in from various sources. So you can receive these ideas from spirit guides, from muses, from relatives who've passed, your higher self, whatever. You could actually ask for particular angels to help you. But when that information comes in, it's because you're like this, you're open to it. And when we're stressed, we close down that tube. Because if you think about stress, everything's like this, it's all tied and held together tightly. And so things can't just drop in. So it's best to be in that receiving mode. When you're having trouble with creativity, or thinking about new ideas, thinking about doing anything new, you need to be in that receiving mode. So you may have to actually take yourself offline on purpose and go meditate, and just meditate with the thought that I want creative ideas about this problem. I want things to come in about this. And by doing that, you're saying, I'm now open to it. And then listen. Okay, so then the next step is the idea actually coming in, and you deciding, well, is it a good idea? Is that a good idea, or is that a crazy idea? And that's a great spot, because you've already got the idea. Now you just get to mess around with it and go, yes or no. And usually we kind of like try it on for size. The problem that we have here is, the potential problem we have here is that we may think we can't accomplish that idea, or it's kind of ridiculous. It's like it's too far-fetched. Or when I'm in a depressed state, that's when it's really hard. I'm like, I'm not good enough for that idea. There's no way I could do that idea. I come up with a million reasons not to do that idea, and the idea goes. But let's say you're feeling good about yourself, and the idea seems plausible to you, and you start messing around with it. Now that's the fun part. That's step 3. That's making the idea work for you. Making the idea, adding yourself to the idea. So the idea came from elsewhere, and now you're adding yourself to the idea. It's my belief also that these ideas some of them are kind of universal, or worldwide. I had this happen once to me. So I'm a photographer, an artist, and I was, when I first got into photography for doing it in an artsy way, I guess, I was messing around in the dark room and doing these cool things. I was doing paper negatives and all this stuff, and someone saw my work and showed it to a gallery owner who's pretty well known, and she said, "Wow, I really like your work. It's really cool, but it looks just like this work by this gentleman from Japan who we rep." And it did. It looked so much like it. And I wasn't into other photographers, so I didn't even know enough to go learn about this guy until they said, "Oh, it looks just like that." And it was pretty amazing. So, that's, ideas are dropped in different people's minds all over the world, and at different times, but a lot of times all at the same time, roughly at the same time. So, hi Emily, hi Janet. Janet says she likes adding yourself to the idea. Yeah, and so, yeah, I took my take on the idea of this art. It was a little different, but basically it was you could tell, like, the feeling, that was the most important. The feeling was the same. We both had art on little pieces of paper that were torn and everything. It was really cool. So making the idea your own, putting your twist on it, to me, that's the most fun. That's the whole thing right there, is just being able to work the idea. And when things are going really well, when I get really inspired. So the first idea inspires me, and then more ideas start popping in. Because if you're in inspired action, you're doing things, you're inspired, boy, more things are going to drop in. You have all these different ideas to help you complete your current idea, which is just awesome. I absolutely love when that happens. So with art, or let's just say, like, doing a selfie. I do these selfies, if you haven't seen, on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. It's ASH Scott Hall Psychic, and I do these funny selfies. And sometimes I'll have an idea, like, I'm going to do a selfie of like my last one. My last one was Frida. I did one of Frida's self portraits and put myself on there, and in doing so, I thought, well, how am I going to do this? It can't look like art. It can't look like a photograph. I have to have because she painted herself, so it has to have a painting of me. And I thought, well, I've got this app that turns a photo into like a painting looking thing. And it's really easy, and no, it's not going to be, 100%, of course, because I'm not a painter. I don't paint using oils or anything. So I did it, and it worked out great. So that I was in inspiration mode, and more ideas came of how to accomplish the original idea, which was to put my face on Frida's. So anyway, it came out great. Check it out. I think it's really funny. And I ended up putting blush on. Janet liked blush. She thought that looked good. Did a good job. Hi, Heather. Okay, so so far we have 3 steps. One is the receiving mode. One is the deciding whether you're going to use the idea mode. So the idea came in receiving mode. You decide whether to use or not. And the third step is working the idea, working it, making it your own, adding your own flavor to it, your own personality. So that this is the cool thing, is people think, well, if someone else has that idea, well, what if Bob up the street got the same idea? He's an artist too, or you're an accountant, he's an accountant, you got the same idea. You're gonna have each person's gonna have their own take on it, and that's what the universe wants. That's what God wants. God wants your own take on it. What is your take on this idea? It's not that you're the first to have the idea. It's not that you're the only one to have the idea. It's not that your idea is the best. It's not even your idea to start with. Start thinking that way. It's not even your idea to start with. You're just adding your personality. That's the truth. That's the truth behind the whole thing. The truth isn't that it's your idea. The truth is that you are adding yourself to the idea. So now the 4th step is finishing it, which can be the hardest thing for creatives or anyone, but is finishing it. I think the reason why finishing it is difficult, number one, is the perfectionist. You want to I need to do that. I need to add this little color there. Like, especially with my little selfies, I could go for hours on those things. But I have to say that, I have to hold myself back. Like, what's the return for this many hours? It's this big on most people's phones. So do you really need to work this hard on it? So there's that aspect to it. But I think there's another aspect to why we kind of hold off on finishing, and that is that we're concerned about the 5th step. So the fourth step is finishing it. The fifth step is putting it out there. So by not finishing something, you're delaying the fifth step. So that's a catch-all right there. Just like you if you catch yourself doing that, just call yourself out on it. Why am I not finishing this project or anything you're doing? If it's because you're fearful of the fifth step, then just call it out for what it is. And realize, okay, well, should I just not finishing it? Does that make any sense? I put all this work into it. If it's truly inferior, you'll know that. But most of the time, that's not what the case is. The case is just that you're fearful of the fifth step. So finishing it is really important. And that's another time where if you get down on yourself, then that really shuts down the crossing of the finish line. So really work on that. Oh, Janet says some resistance and fear can kick in and keep us from finishing. Yes, as I just said, yes. The fear of what might happen or what someone might, it says someone might see. Yeah, and that's so much self-judgment, so much harshness. Most people, just think about a kid when he does a drawing and you're like, oh, that's great, and even if it's not the greatest thing, it's not Picasso or anything, but you just say, that's really great, and you see it for what it is, and you really appreciate that this little person put their themselves into this idea and completed the idea. Well, other people are compassionate like that too, and if they're not compassionate and think, so I'm saying, even if it is like not the best thing in the world, most people are really compassionate about that, and they're like, oh, that's great that you did that, that's awesome, Maybe they see it needs more work, but they encourage you, and that's what you want. So if you've got naysayers in your head before you put it out, realize that that's all it is. It's just yourself. You're making another excuse why not to put something out there. Just go through it. So I've kind of ended up on the fifth step automatically. Might say, oops. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Jen. But so the fifth step is courageously putting it out there, and that you just have to walk through the fear. Sometimes fear just has to be walked through. You can bring down fear sometimes, but a lot of times it just needs to be walked right through. It's like, am I going to go over this threshold or not? Am I going to put this song out there or not? I don't know. Am I going to put this article out there or not? Am I going to show my boss my new idea or not? Whatever creative thing you come up with. Think about it. Does it make sense to hold it back? Because that holding it back really hurts yourself, I think, especially for a creative person who comes up with lots of ideas. I mean, it kills me. I have many ideas that are just sitting there, but I'm catching myself right now. I'm using the excuse, as I'm telling you this, that there's so many that I don't have time to do it, and that's okay. And so I'm not really holding them back. It's just I don't have time to do it. I say that's BS. I'm sure I could finish more ideas and get more out there. But I get near the finish line and get afraid. Janet says, it has always been way better than I thought it was going to be when I finally followed through with things. Yeah, definitely true. No doubt about that. And Janet's produced many great things that all of which are awesome. So, put it out there. You never know. What's the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to feel some fear. No one else is really going to give a crap, really. And this day and age, you can delete it. Like if you put a video out and you don't like it, delete it. In fact, I did this same video last week and deleted it because I was so tired and did a horrible job. And but I put it out there, and then I was like, no. So worst comes to worst, you can take it back. Sometimes you can't take it back if it's a live performance, but whatever. You move on. It's much better to go through the fear, put it out there, and see what happens, than to feel that horrible feeling of never putting something out there, of holding back, which I've felt before too. I have so many songs that I've not put out yet, and I really need to do that as well. So excuse me, there we go. So I'd like to take questions, so I'm going to talk about something else. If you have any questions about creativity or any comments you'd like to make, go ahead and do so, and I'm going to tell you, give you my spiel a little bit. So if you'd like to work on your creativity, we can do that in a psychic reading, believe it or not. So one of the things I work on a lot with people is just finding out what you like. Like people are like, oh, I want to create things, but I don't even know what to create. We can get to what you like. That's what you need to start, is what you like. Like think about when you were 2 or 3, you pointed at things for your mom to get off of a shelf for you in the grocery store. That we need to get back to that person and find out what you like. and then when you get to what you like, then what you want to create is right there with that. Okay, so if you'd like to work on that with me and work on these steps with me, you can sign up for a reading right here on Facebook, or you can go to, I have my services on the top of my Facebook page on Scott Hall Psychic, or you can go to scotthallpsychic.com and sign up there. And so it would just be a reading. It's just under reading, and we will emphasize creativity, okay? No questions. How much time have I spent? Let's see if I've gotten very far. Yes, I made it through 15 minutes. Okay, that's good. I think I'm getting better at this. So anyway, I want y'all to have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.